Hello and welcome back. This is Cheryl. Today I'm going to show you how to do foiling on your cards without having a foiling machine. I just discovered that there is a product called Decofoil Transfer Gel that works with foils to create a foiled look, and you don't need to have a machine to do it. What this works on is either pressure or heat, so you can use a die cutting machine, or if you have an inexpensive laminating machine, you can use that as well. Today I'm going to be using a die cutting machine. So I'm taping down my paper, and then I'm going to tape down my stencil, creating a hinge. And then I'm going to apply the transfer gel. The reason I make a hinge with some tape is so when I'm lifting my stencil up, if I happen to lose my grip on it and it falls down, it's going to fall in exactly the same place and I'm not going to ruin any part of my card. I've got a palette knife here. I'm grabbing some of that transfer gel and I'm just going to put it in the part of the stencil that I want to have foiled on the front of the card. So this is also going to add a little bit of dimension with the gel, and I really love how it looks. Once the whole piece is completely filled with the gel, I use my palette knife to smooth it out so it's got a nice finish to it. Once I have the gel completely evened out and filled out, I'm going to lift my stencil kind of like a door and then remove my piece of paper with the transfer gel. So you can see the gel right now is completely white. I need to set it aside to dry until it's totally clear. And I typically do it overnight. I don't want to have any part of that gel not dry, otherwise it's going to ruin the effect. So now I'm also going to do the same thing with a white piece of cardstock, and I'm just going to use a different flower stencil for this one. I can reuse my pieces of tape, no problem. I will throw them out once I'm done this because they've got some transfer gel on them and I don't want to get that on other projects. So the process for the white piece of paper or cardstock is exactly the same as the black piece of cardstock. The nice thing about doing both colors together is the black one, it's much easier to tell when the gel is completely dried because it goes transparent, whereas on the white one it's a lot harder to tell because white on white you can't really tell when it's transparent. But I will put that aside with my black piece and we'll finish it off in the morning. While we're waiting for that to dry, I'll show you how to do it with a stamped image. So I've got a stamp on my block here, and what I'm going to do is take some of that transfer gel, make a really thin coat on my surface that I'm working on. What I'm trying to do is kind of mimic a stamp pad. So I'm going to get a really thin coat, and then I'm going to tap my stamp into that thin coat of the transfer gel and stamp the image onto my cardstock. And once again, I need to wait for that image to be completely transparent and not white before I can continue on with the foiling. So now it's the next day. My transfer gel is completely transparent and we are ready to foil. So I have some opal foil that's made by the same company as the transfer gel. I'm just going to cut the piece of foil down to about the size of the front of the card, basically just where the transfer gel is. Now this foil has a side that's really shiny and a side that's a little bit less shiny. The side that's more shiny is the one that you want facing up. The less shiny side, you're going to put that facing your transfer gel. So I'm just going to place my foil, put it in the machine exactly how you would die cut a thin die. And you'll see I put it through one way and then I put it back through the other way. I want to make sure that it's got good contact with that transfer gel. And then you just peel it right up and you've got a foiled piece of cardstock for your cards. And now we'll repeat that exact same process with my white background and the opal foil. And now let's do that with the stamped image. Now, because when doing it with the stamped image, you don't have as much dimension as you have with the foil or with the transfer gel and the stencil, I do like to put a couple sheets of cardstock underneath my piece just to thicken that sandwich up a little bit. And I find it gives a really good impression with the foil on the stamped image. Now I happen to have a couple backgrounds that I did previously, so I'm going to do one of them with the stencil and transfer gel with some gold foil, and then the second one is a stamped image, and I'm going to do that with some blue foil. Now you'll notice as I'm taking these foils off, the impression of the foil or of the image is in there. You can keep these scraps, and I keep them in a bag, and I like to use them with double-sided tape in different techniques in order to get foil on double-sided tapes. That way you're not wasting all this extra foil. So my second stamped image is a butterfly, so I'm going to place the foil over the image, and then I also have the sentiment there. I cut the foil just down so that I have a piece to put on the sentiment. Once again, I've got my extra pieces of cardstock underneath there to thicken the sandwich, and I'm going to run that through the machine. So I ended up with a couple lines from the edge of the foil, and the way to remove that is just with an adhesive eraser. Just lightly rub along it, and that little bit of foil will just remove. Same goes if you happen to have a piece of your cardstock foil that you didn't really have adhesive. That adhesive remover is going to remove that foil for you. So because the foiling is quite flashy, I kept the card designs very, very simple. So the first stamped one with the opal foil, I just put on a white card base, and I think it shows off the foil quite nicely. The blue one, I just put on a blue card base for the same reason. I think it just enhances the foil quite nicely. The ones with the transfer gel and stencils, I just added a die cut sentiment to the front. This one here I thought would be perfect for like a wedding card. You can even do it as a birthday card, but it's just so pretty. That foil tends to have a little bit of a pink look, which is why the pink card base. And then the gold one, I just put it on a white base. But I really love knowing that you can foil your cards without having an expensive foiling machine. Thank you so much for watching.